Welcome everybody to the top 10 NES games. Cole, Bragg, Samurai, and Zio here with you guys. I guess I should let you guys introduce yourselves, but not well, screw it. And this top 10 is brought to you by MuchGames.ca. So now you guys can go ahead and officially introduce yourselves.
Hello everybody, this is Samurai TX here.
I'm not going to say anything because Cole already said my name. Black, and again, might as well Black. But Cole, next time let us do our own intros.
I don't mind being introduced. It's
Selfish
nice.
bastard.
It's nice. I don't mind. I'm cool with it. But yeah,
Cool with it.
also,
Yeah.
Okay, gotta have a bit of fun, people.
Yes, we can. But we're rolling with it anyway. So
Yeah, we're just going to go with the punches.
we said back in 2017 that we were going to do. We had a new series started, which we started off with the top 10 Mario Party moments. Which, ironically enough, Zio had cameos in that video. 2 cameos, to be honest. But anyway, moving on from that one, this list was compiled when 10 members got through with 10 different lists. Then we managed to compile these lists into one. So we do have some honorable mentions that we can get to later on. And, well, we got our official top 10. So these are our opinions of the Much Games crew and not that of anyone else's. So keep that in mind when we start this list. You guys want to make your own top 10? You can write down in the comment section below as well. So
yeah.
Yeah, do
Share
that.
share with us your top 10. That'd be nice.
That would be a good idea.
So Bragg, why don't we start it off here now?
Okay, so introducing number 10, very good game, one of my favorite, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. So, I think this was one of the best, well, it was not one of the best Zelda games, but it was one of the most unique ones. Because it had like a level-up system. Not many of the Zelda games have a level-up system.
Pretty sure that's the only one that has a level in
Actually, it is, yeah. Other ones have like upgrade systems and things like that, but not one you can actually level up by killing enemies.
Not to mention, it didn't even have the hearts part. This is more like an RPG type Zelda.
Yeah, like it had an energy bar instead.
There were collectible heart tanks and magic tanks, but in general, you would upgrade yourself by leveling up, attack, HP, or one other stat that I can't remember right now.
Yeah, it was.
But
Yeah, I can't remember that stat
general,
either.
it was a very challenging game. One that wasn't unfairly challenging, just but really difficult.
Yeah, it was. It was probably more difficult than the original Legend of Zelda in that aspect.
I would
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely different.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it was.
I did
then
like
they made it
the,
on.
I did like the aspect you said. Even the dungeons were a bit more tougher. I remember LP Grotus. You can check that out. Him let's play it, and he even found some of the stuff difficult too. But as you go through the levels, it can get, depending on your difficulty curve, it can get easier or your learning curve on the game.
Two, just like a lot of games that come out after it, you could easily sequence what you knew where the different areas to go to, and if you were skilled, you could actually get some secrets earlier than you expected to. So there was ways of sequence breaking the game, and if you did sequence break the game, it kind of made the game too easy for you at that point.
Well, at least for the early part.
For the early part, yeah.
There was a lot of there's a lot of archaic stuff to the game, like a product of the time, but a lot of stuff that was just you'd have to figure out how to progress, but nothing too difficult to understand.
No, well, I agree with that. Yeah, but Zelda 2 was a classic. Actually, I think recently it was being released on Nintendo Switch's online service.
I haven't seen it on Nintendo Switch.
I think it is. I know they did Zelda 1 and they did like a special edition of that. But I think Zelda 2 is supposed to be on the Nintendo Online now on the Switch as well. what's coming out. But
Well, at the time of this, it's not out yet.
no, but it's definitely in the works, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say that's more in the works. But it is a good one regardless. So,
Well, yeah. Actually, it is coming out for the Switch. I just checked it on my phone, actually, on January 16th of this year.
so at this
Four
point,
days
So,
time.
so at this point in time we're recording it, it's coming out 5 days from now, basically, from the time we're recording this.
yeah, we're recording this on the 11th of January.
Right. So, by the time you see this, it's out. But yeah. But yeah, Zelda 2 is a great one. If you guys have anything to say about Zelda 2, comment below.
So why don't we move on to game number 9?
All right, so game number 9, definitely a classic, is DuckTales for the NES.
Woohoo!
This is a game that was so. This is a game that was so good it got an HD remake, but like, the HD remake is only so good because the original is so good.
Yeah, DuckTales
Agreed.
Remastered is good. It is really good, but yeah. If it wasn't for this one, there wouldn't have been a DuckTales Remastered.
There were a lot of Disney games for the NES, and
Yeah,
a lot of them,
yeah.
them were pretty great in their own respects. But I think of all of them, DuckTales is definitely the one that stands out the most.
I agree.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
sure.
And it was good, made by a good company. Like, Capcom made this game, so, you know, Capcom, Mega Man, you know, series. But Capcom made this game, and it was even ported to the Game Boy, actually.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, it was ported to the Game Boy a year after it came out on the NES. So, but yeah, it's a good platforming game. I really liked it. And as soon as they announced DuckTales Remastered was coming out years ago, I instantly went out and had to buy it because of it just brought back this.
Yeah.
I had to get it. I don't have it installed currently on my computer, but I do have it on my Steam at least. And
Yeah, I got
own
it
the
on
LP
Steam as
before.
well, and I finished it. So
I have it LP'd on my channel as well, and maybe one of these days might LP for much games. But it's a great game, and it even had a sequel as well.
I'll probably end up doing the NES version on my channel this year, probably.
That'd be great to see that actually.
Cool.
That would be really cool. But it was like Theo said, it was Disney, of course, DuckTales, and they even did kind of went on with the cartoons, I guess, with the same type of characters. And just recently, about a year or so ago, they actually brought back the cartoon series too, a new version of it.
Yeah, DuckTales,
So.
2018,
Yeah.
as people like to refer to since it
Yeah.
shares the same name as the original. But it's also the new TV show is also really good.
And of course, with this game, DuckTales, you're controlling Scrooge McDuck. So, you know, Huey, Dewey, and Louie are all there. All the villains that you see, like the Beagle Boys and all that, they're all in the game, those type of characters. But the main thing is you're controlling Scrooge McDuck throughout the game.
And I really like the money mechanic.
yeah,
Because
I like that too.
It gives you a very big incentive of collecting as much as you can to get the best ending.
One of the more good additions to the game.
Yeah, and you had 5 worlds. You had the African mines, the Amazon, the Himalaya, Transylvania, and of course the final stage was on the moon. So, Magical Dispel was in it.
Yeah,
When it comes to Duck. So, she's in it.
It's pretty much your standard enemies from even the TV show, really.
Basically, that's basically exactly what it is. And she was one of the main villains on the TV show. And
Yeah, it was a great adaptation of from TV show to game.
yeah, but I think it was great, and definitely was a great game. I think one of my favorite stages would have to be the Transylvania one. I like Transylvania a lot.
Yeah, I really like the Transylvania one. Although I have to say, I think the Moon is one of my favorites.
I gotta agree with Moon. I gotta go with Zio with this one. Moon's one of my favorites too.
Oh, I like the Moon too. Like Transylvania and the Moon were probably the two ones I would say are
especially
my
for the
favorite.
music. The music is just so great.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
The
yeah.
music in this game was excellent. Great music. Even the remastered version had good music.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's DuckTales.
you can let us know what you think about it in the comments.
Exactly.
All right, so why don't we go to the number 8 part game? I guess I'm going to want to introduce this one. So, basically, this one is is a better sequel than the original. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. Basically, it's a beat 'em up where you get 10 levels in the game, and, well, even the Konami code was pretty much into this one. As Konami did make the game, and...
Back when they cared about their games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was better than the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
And the fact that it was beat 'em up elements in
agree.
it, the beat 'em up elements really helped. That's what
This is one of the good translated ports of an arcade game to a console. Not that often would you get good translations between the two, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 was definitely a good step in that direction.
And it was.
Yeah, definitely was. And it was better than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the top-down view. That was, I'm sorry, the top-down view, and then you had to go into the sewers, and then switch to, like...
Yeah, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja
That was just like, oh, no.
Yeah.
This was way better.
Unfortunately, it's just a travesty.
Yeah, for sure.
No,
I mean,
this one here was really good. Like Zio said, a really good port from an arcade game to a console. And you don't see that a lot. A lot of times when games get ported from arcade to console, they lose their quality.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is one of the real ones that didn't. But it's a great game. It's a really old game. It was like mid-'80s. It was like
1989.
yeah, 1989 is when it came out.
yeah, that's not mid-'80s. That's more like late '80s.
Yeah,
Well, actually, it also came, because the show began in the... So the TV show was in 87, 2 years after. So it was just before the 1990s. So late 80s, yeah.
I'm from someone that's Let's played that game. Oh, I had too much fun with that game. Even though the final boss kicked my ass quite a bit, it was annoying Shredder, but I got through it in the end. I'm crying. That final area, it can be frustrating, but it's a lot of fun when you play with somebody. Playing it on your own is so much more of a challenge.
I agree. I think that game is better off. Like, it does have the co-op mode, and it's better off for two players.
I completely agree.
And the thing about this game is, it's actually, if you go by the arcade release, not the NES release, but if you go by the arcade release, it's actually 30 years old this year. But if you go by NES, it's 29. So it's 29 years old on an NES console. So, and it's 30 years old if you go with the arcade. So, it's been out for basically 3 decades is how long this game's been out for.
Yeah, but it's great that TMNT had a proper introduction to the consoles with this game.
It did. Unlike the other games that we mentioned with the top-down view, and that was not a good introduction.
Yeah, TMNT 1.
And it had all your favorite characters from the TV show, the 87 TV show, and it was pretty damn good. Literally followed the TV show, so yeah, it was a very good entry to the gaming series. Definitely a step up from the first game, as we said.
Agreed.
Definitely a step up.
And the 10 levels, like one complaint that you can have by today's aspect is, you got 10 levels in there for this kind of beat 'em up. You could probably have a bit more, but that's by today's aspect. Yesterday's aspect, as in going back to when it came out, it's better to have the 10 levels there.
I gotta think of it. Games also had other games that, weren't the same. Beat 'em ups back in the 90s were one of the big things. So you had games like this. You had games like Street Fighter, Double Dragon, Battletoads. Battletoads was another one. There was so many beat 'em ups that came out of that. Final Fight, Final Fight was another one. I almost forgot Final Fight actually until you just said it. Power Rangers came out when I was like Super Nintendo, but in the early 90s, beat 'em ups were a big thing. And this is one of them.
If I were you guys, I'd definitely go back and play these games instead of the new ones, because the new ones are not that good.
I play a lot of the nostalgia games. Like this one here, I would definitely play again.
Yeah,
the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games are terrible, especially retail.
All of the after the 2003 series, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just haven't been as stellar in terms of video game.
Not at
So
all.
I would stick to the classics, or at least the 2003 series game.
Agreed.
Yep.
Definitely.
So while we're moving on to this one, why don't we move on to the next game as well? Samurai?
Sounds good.
Number 7 is Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. It was released in 1990 in America and 1992 in Europe. It's a sequel to the first game, I like to believe, because I think Simon's Quest was a spin-off. I might be wrong there, but...
No. So, Castlevania 3 was a sequel in the respect that it advanced the gameplay to Castlevania 1. Castlevania 2 was a direct sequel to Castlevania 1 because in Simon's Quest...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Actually, if you really want to get into it, Castlevania 3 is actually a prequel to Castlevania 1.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
I was going to get to that.
It's a prequel to Castlevania 1, much like the Castlevania The Adventure Game 1.
Most of the
It's a
timeline
prequel.
is so confusing.
Yeah. But it's a prequel. And, of course, one of my favorite characters, and if you watch the Castlevania series on Netflix, and I highly recommend you do, the main protagonist of this one is actually Trevor Belmont.
It's an ancestor to Simon Belmont.
Yes.
Yep, exactly, from Castlevania 2.
Problem is,
So-
Trevor never taught Simon how to swim.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Trevor
That-
never got
that
taught
was
how
the
to
big-
swim neither.
That was the
Yeah.
major issue with the Castlevania games. Then that you can't, if you go into the water, you're dead because you can't swim.
Back then. Now, these days, when you play games like Castlevania, Order of Ecclesia, and stuff like that, you can actually go in water now.
Literally one of my favorite Castlevania entries.
Which actually, currently, right now, at the time of recording this, Nufi Banga is actually LP in it. But that is a really good game, Cass. So there's a lot of spin-off games that came off of these.
Yes,
Okay,
Newfoundlanders
yeah.
actually Let's Play Order of Ecclesia, a Hall of Fame game that got inducted last year.
By
Yep.
me, by me.
Yes, actually.
Yes.
Funny enough.
Funny enough, yes.
With this game, it made so much improvements to the other two. With this one, you can play as 3 characters. Trevor, the other one is, if I remember correctly, Cypher, and Alucard. Obviously,
You can
Dracula
also-
backwards.
There's 3 characters you can pick from, which is Sypha, Alucard, who would later have a starring role, and I forgot the name of the last character. I think it was
Trevor.
It's trouble.
No, it was the Hunchback guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because they're side
yeah.
characters that teamed
I
up with
forgot his
Trevor.
name.
Yeah, there's 4
there was,
characters. Sorry.
There was Alucard, Trevor, Cypher, and Belnads or something. Begins with a B, so I know it's Belnades was a young sorceress. So that was the fourth person. So it's 4 of them. Oh, actually, that's the sorceress. Actually, I think she's in a TV
It
show.
was Grant. Grant.
Oh,
Dynasty.
Grant
Grant, there you go.
Dynasty. Sorry.
Yes, Grant Dynasty, yeah. So the sorceress was Cypher, and she's actually in the TV show.
Yeah.
True.
So,
Really trouble.
Sypha was a sorceress who could
Yep.
use magic spells.
Mm-hmm.
Grant
And,
was a pirate able to climb on all kinds of walls, including ceilings.
Yep.
Alucard has Dracula's son.
So he has the
Transforming
ability
into a
to
bat,
turn.
so it was really a helpful ability in that game, the transforming into a bat.
But great game, and then of course other games from that series continue on. You had Symphony of the Night and so on.
Not to mention in this game, one of the better things about it is that you could choose your path.
Yeah.
Yes, you could. Newfie Banga Let's Play this game on within the channel's first official year, I'm going to say.
Yeah, he did a bunch of
Yeah, he let
Castlevania
people pick
games.
the path he was going to go.
That's a pretty neat touch.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It
That
helps
is.
because whatever path you pick determines what bosses you face or what characters you interact with. And you didn't actually have to take the character along with you. It was a choice that you could make. You could encounter Grant and take him with you, and then encounter Sypha and not take Sypha with you if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So it offered a lot of replayability and just how you would like to play the game.
And to this day, it's still very it still has its replay value to this day.
Oh, Castlevania games are great.
Yeah.
Yep.
The funny thing is, in my room, I actually don't have that one, but I actually had the original NES cartridge for Simon's Quest. I still have that one.
I don't have Simon's Quest, but I have the original and Castlevania 3.
Yeah, I got Castlevania 2, so I got Simon's Quest. I don't have the other two, but great game.
Two fun facts here.
Yeah.
Two fun facts here. Combined, you guys got the 3 games for their NES, and Banga loves bats.
Yes, Banga does love bats.
The only unfortunate thing I would have to say is that even though this game fundamentally is so much better than the original, it's also much, much harder.
It is.
It really is. Like,
yeah.
Ironically, as we're on Castlevania as number 7, Simon's Quest was also in the honorable mentions. Maybe had. So we had quite the choice to pick, and Simon's Quest was on the honorable mentions list.
yes, well, we can get into more honorable mentions a little later on.
Yeah, we do have an honorable mentions list, but we will say spoiler, as Simon has already said it, Simon's Quest is going to be on that list, because he always said it. But moving on to number 6, I guess, because that's what we'll do. This one launched many, many games, and still is. Final Fantasy. So the original Final Fantasy, I remember playing that. I own that game. Of course, it's on PlayStation 1, but I own it.
I feel bad that my first ever Final Fantasy experience was Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, and I'm only just playing through Final Fantasy 7 on stream.
Oh,
I would say that's sad, because Mystic Quest was actually not a bad game, Zio.
That was one of the worst things as well. If you live in Europe, unfortunately, your first game experience of Final Fantasy was Mystic Quest, and it wasn't as good as the other ones.
Well, it's not as good as the other ones, but it's not a bad game, but it's not as good as the main series.
Yeah.
But yeah, Final Fantasy was quite an interesting game. Launched the series. They're still working on and making them. There's a bunch of them come out this year now for the Switch, and Xbox One, PS4.
Yeah, like
mostly remakes. Actually, all remakes.
well, ports on some of them. I don't think actually remakes.
Well, yeah, the ports. Actually, one of them I think is a little bit different. That's Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. I think that one's a little bit different. But the other ones are all like ports. So they're porting like
7,
10
9,
and 10,
10, 12.
10 and 10 to 12. What was the other one? Crystal Chronicles. And last year they released Final Fantasy 15, the Pocket Edition on the Switch. But yeah, Final Fantasy has a lot of games. But
the original is the one that we got here on our list because of the fact that, well, it started off the series for one thing, and the fact that not many RPGs were around with Nintendo at the time.
And this game was actually pretty well designed back then for the type of game it was. And originally, actually, they were using the name of Fighting Fantasy. So originally it might not have been called Final Fantasy. The working title was actually called Fighting Fantasy, and then they changed it to Final Fantasy.
I'm pretty sure they changed it to Final because they were thinking that this would be their last game. But then it did so well, and it saved them. Final Fantasy actually saved them.
I remember. They named it Final Fantasy because they thought that this was going to sing a swan song.
Yep.
And it ended up saving them.
It did because it received great praise, and then it released so many games after that. So it launched a franchise, just like many games.
I mean, more along with this game, you actually got different classes that you have for your party too. Black Mage, White Mage, I think a Warrior,
a Monk,
yeah.
You had like different classes. Yeah, so you had you had 6 classes. They were the Fighter, the Thief, the Black Mage, the Black Belt, I should say, Red, White, and Black Mage. So there was 3 types of mages, and you had a Fighter, a Thief, and a Black Belt.
As you can see, it had so much variety in it, and it was well ahead
Yep.
of its time when it was released.
And then,
Yep.
sadly, some of the future Final Fantasies got rid of what they call the job system, because that's what that was, really. And then it was brought back in some games. Like Final Fantasy IX, for instance, brought it back. Because Final Fantasy VI had it, 7 and 8 dropped it, and then 9 brought it back. And then 10 dropped it again.
Now, of course,
Well, actually, 10 kind of had something similar, but it couldn't switch, the characters couldn't switch the roles.
in Final Fantasy V, got inducted to the Hall of Fame last year, and I can get to a fun fact now shortly with that. The job system was in that one, if I do remember the video correctly.
Yes, there was a job
Yes,
system
yes,
in
it
Final
was.
Fantasy. Yeah, there was.
But
There was a job system.
other fun fact for the Hall of Fame stuff, Final Fantasy has the most amount of games in there.
I'm not surprised.
Not a surprise.
There's a lot of Final Fantasy games.
A lot of good ones.
Yep. There's
Yeah.
a couple of bad ones. There's a few bad ones too.
Just like every ongoing series, it's going to have its great games.
It's gonna have its good games and it's gonna have its bad games. And I
Yep.
can tell you there's some bad games in the Final Fantasy series.
Yeah.
Some of them
Yeah.
are online, 11 and 14 are online.
11 and 14 are online.
Yeah.
12 is not. And 13 had 3 of them. Like there's 3 13s. Well,
And a lot of people
And
are
and
pissed
then
off about
15 was
13, apparently.
Yep.
yeah, a lot of people didn't like 13. 15 got a lot of praise. A lot of people liked 15. There's a cult following for 12.
Wasn't there a cult following for 8 as well?
And 7.
7, 8, 9, and 10 all had cult followings. 12. 11 is one of the ones that 11's one of the ones that no one really talks about. 6 had a lot of 6 was probably one of the best
Six
ones.
has it. 6 is probably the best one in my
Yeah.
You
opinion.
mean Final Fantasy 3?
Yeah.
6, yeah, Kefka's.
Yeah, Final Fantasy
Fantasy
3
VI.
North America, Final Fantasy 6
And
Japan.
Europe. And Europe as well gets Final Fantasy 3. Yay!
Yep. But Final Fantasy is a great series, and I'm assuming there's probably gonna be another one coming out eventually. But it took them years for Square Enix to release 15. It took I don't know how many years, but that was in development for so long.
Development hell
It
since.
seems like Square's focus right now has been on KH.
Well, yeah, Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts.
And I think they're not.
Secretly, they're working on Final Fantasy VII Remake, but
They're
Well,
not.
that's
They're
the bit-
not. They stopped doing Final Fantasy 15. I think something happened there, so they stopped doing DLCs
Yeah.
and whatnot last year.
Yeah.
So not going to hear anything from that franchise anymore.
no, you probably will see another Final Fantasy game. But I say the next Final Fantasy game you're going to see, in terms of anything new, is going to be the remake of Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
Still ain't heard nothing from it for 2 years now.
Nope.
But,
That's because I focus. That's because I focus on Kingdom Hearts.
Yep.
I might not have played or Final Fantasy, but I know the legacy that comes with it. That game and Dragon Warrior are one of the most influential RPGs of all time. It definitely deserves its spot.
Actually, speaking of Dragon Warrior, I just recently bought about a week ago Dragon Warrior 11 for the PlayStation 4. And
Quest 11.
yep, and it's really good. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That and about Spyro the Dragon, the remake of Spyro the Dragon.
Reignited trilogy.
Yeah, but great games. But we're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about like Final Fantasy and other games.
Yeah, other
So
NES
that's
games.
NES games. So that's Final Fantasy. You want to comment below about that game or any of the other ones that preceded it? Go for it.
All right, so
All right.
we're entering our top 5 now.
Yep. And number 5 is a favorite NES game of mine. It is Metroid, the first one in the series.
The
Oh,
introduction
I've
of
had so
Samus
much fun with
Aran.
this game. When everybody thought it was a guy, but when you beat the game,
A lot of people did not know that Samus was a girl.
well, when
Talk
you
about-
beat the game, you see the truth for yourself. It's a woman.
Yep.
Talk
really
about
it
genre
really gave it away.
defining.
Yeah.
This game basically invented a genre. a video
So
game.
yes, it did. I mean, this game was inspired by the Aliens franchise. So most things you see in this game is from the Alien movie. So that's where its material comes from. It's inspired by
Yeah,
Ridley
it's
Scott's
got a lot.
franchise.
It
You
draws a
can
lot of inspiration from
you
it.
can
So
tell that that's what it's
So
drawn
it's
from.
got a lot of references to Alien, and it definitely is one of the better ideas they came up with when I played this game.
Yeah, so
But
it had it on. This was on the NES. It was 1986, I think.
1987
Yeah, it was 19.
for 1986 for Japan, but 7 for NA and EU.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so they had that one, and then of course they had the sequel, Metroid 2, which was actually only for the Game Boy.
So with this game, this is Samus's first mission on Planet Zedus. For its time, it was very challenging because there was no map, so you really had to figure it out in your mind. You had to draw it out. So it did have its challenges on its way, and
Yeah, there was a lot of navigation you would have to understand, but there was a lot of, but that helped give to the mood of the game, where you really feel like you're on this distant planet, on your own with your own merit.
oh, absolutely, and it just adds to it as well when you're
Mm-hmm.
when you're in a new surroundings, you don't know what to do. You just figure it out for yourself. So it was really clever. For me, it was clever then when I first played it, but it was a bit frustrating because I was obviously a kid. So
Right. And if you didn't want to play it, and if you didn't, if you want to play it these days, and you don't want to play it on NES, if you got a Game Boy Advance, you can play Zero Mission because Zero Mission's a remake of it. So it's the same game, it's just up-to-date graphics. That
Now,
so you can play
also-
Zero Mission.
Also, I do believe Zero.
Get it on the Wii U eShop.
You can even do that, yeah.
Understand.
So
Uh,
if you play Zero Mission, you are playing Metroid 1. It's just more up to date.
but also, I think Samurai, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Let's play Zero Mission on Much Games.
yes, I did. And on my channel.
He did.
This game definitely had its own clever additions with power-ups. You obviously have to go collect the morph ball first. There's missiles. You get Variusu, bombs. Do you get super bombs in that game? I don't.
No,
I think
no,
you
no,
do.
no power
Not in
bombs.
that. Not in the original. I think it's
You do get
you
the
get ice beam,
attack.
screw attack, and energy tanks. Of course, that is challenge because when you normally in Zero Mission, you start 99 energy, but in this game, you start at 30, so you got to be very careful because you got a puny beam. Of course, you get the long beam later on in the game, so with the short beam, it's pretty weak, so you have to play very clever in order to try and survive in the early doors, but it's not really easy. And of course, everyone will play Zero Mission more because this game has aged quite badly. It doesn't stand out these days compared to other NES games. This one is probably the one that nobody plays as much because it's really not aged well.
Right. And you know how we were all talking about a few moments ago about how Final Fantasy had so many games in it? Well, Metroid does too.
Yep.
Might not have as many, but you had Metroid, and you had Metroid 2, and then there was my favorite, Super Metroid.
But
Then you had, Metroid Fusion, Metroid Prime, and there's so many of them. So it's not as many Metroid games probably as Final Fantasy, but it did launch a big franchise just like Final Fantasy did.
But also, I just got on Wikipedia for this one, and apparently also the series was also influenced, besides the Aliens movies, according to Wikipedia, was also influenced by Mario franchise and the Legend of Zelda. But it also
Yeah, I know.
featured.
Yeah,
that too.
it was trying to meet a medium between being an adventure game and a platformer game,
Yeah,
and it actually succeeded.
Yeah.
really did.
It's also
It
it's
did.
also featured the first game to ever feature backtracking, the left to right part, because everyone knows in Mario games you can only go from left to right. Well, Samus managed to go from right to left. So
Yeah, the first power up you have to go to the left.
Yeah, every time.
Set the tone that this game wouldn't be like your standard platformer.
Yeah. But, great game.
Another thing that was frustrating about this game was the long password system. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Password system was
unfortunately,
so ridiculous.
the game, since it didn't have a save system, you would have to use passwords. And
Oh dear.
while yes, the game has shown its age as of late, it's still it still relatively holds up as a.
Yeah, it does. That's what I was going to say, but then obviously we said other things. But yeah, it does hold very well as a nostalgic game, a classic one. But if you do want to
No doubt.
visit it, you can. If you do want to visit it, you can play it again. But likely, you all are probably going to play Zero Mission because it's more of the modern remake, and it's worth your while playing both anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Right.
like the challenge.
But yeah, it's a great game.
So
Definitely one that you would want to play.
yeah, if you're really curious, you should try it out. But definitely play Zero Mission.
Yep. That's the one that you would
Yeah.
play by today's standards for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Let's move on to number 4.
yes.
Which is probably the video game that saved video games in general, and the all-time platforming classic of classics, the original Super Mario Bros.
I actually enjoyed this game on a lot of scales.
I'm still gonna call him Jumpman.
Jump.
That's what his original. That's what his original was supposed to be.
That was his original name.
Yes, it
That was his original name.
And
Jumpman.
now these days he goes by Mario.
That was my Mario. But Jumpman. But Mario, just like Final Fantasy, just like Metroid, Castlevania, go on and on.
For this game,
Games
also
anything
did
on this
feature
list?
a co-op.
It's really hard to say something about Mario because who hasn't said everything about Mario? I mean,
It's so true.
we already know his accolades. We know how important Super Mario Brothers was to the video game industry, and just well, it's Mario. It's amazing.
Not to mention the original theme music plus the original Game Over. I mean, who
As soon as
else
you-
cannot remember? Do 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 do.
Yeah,
The moment you played the game and the moment you heard the World 1-1 music, you knew you was in for a fun time. You just
Yeah.
knew it.
The only thing I really hate in the game, and I still hate it today, is the damn water levels.
What? The water levels were the best.
Shut up, Bragg.
You didn't like the music for the water level?
Music,
That
yes.
the music was awesome.
The actual levels, no.
If it's one thing that was challenging, like I know you can beat the game by warping, but like obviously I don't. So there's some levels in the Bowser's Castle where you have to choose top left or bottom, top middle or bottom, and that was a bit challenging when you're a kid because you don't even know what else going. Constantly looping and you run out of time and you die.
Yeah,
was a bit
there
frustrating.
was no hint for that. You would
Yeah.
just have to go based off of memory and memorization and guessing.
Until you played the Super Nintendo Super Mario All Stars, it will give you that that sound like the wrong sound and then the right sound. But
Yeah,
as a kid, you would never hear that sound at all. You'd have to just guess and see if it loops or if it goes normal, and then you just beat it. But yeah, it was
funnily
pretty
enough,
frustrating.
my
Then.
favorite version of the original of Super Mario Brothers isn't actually even the SNES version. It's actually Super Mario All Stars on the Game Boy Color.
Ooh.
Interesting.
That was-
Super Mario Deluxe. Excuse
Oh
me.
yeah, I own that game. Yeah, that was pretty neat. That was a definite solid
Yeah, it
remake.
was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Added its own thing like verses, and you could even race against Boo.
Yeah, you
Who
versus
didn't like doing that?
There was 2-player races. They added All Stars. They added lost levels to the game if you were to 100 beat the game.
Yeah. And then it had its challenges where you had to collect 5 red coins, get a Yoshi egg, and then get the score, and then it just adds up.
And they
There's
had a
so
lot
much
of,
to do in that.
They had a lot of print mini
There
games.
was a lot to do with that.
It
Even with
was
the
just a very
photographs.
unique experience that I wish New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe could replicate. But
I hope they do.
It doesn't hold Deluxe as well as
No.
Mario Brothers Deluxe.
I don't have that game like the Mario U Deluxe. I was thinking of getting it, but nah. The only thing that's really different with the new one is they added Toadette.
Yeah, Peachette and everything.
Yeah, Toadette was in the Peachette. Yeah. But Mario launched a great franchise. I think one of the best Mario games out there now is probably Mario Odyssey.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Open
no doubt.
world,
There's
it's
no
awesome.
no question of that one. I don't even know if that's even debatable at this standard.
It's one of the best Mario games I've ever played.
But we will do a top 10 Mario and games at a later
Oh,
date.
definitely
That would
top 10
definitely.
Mario.
I would be all over that.
I'm
10
almost
Mario.
100% sure Zio will be like when I ask who's going to be in that video. Zio's going to like raise 3 of his hands. He only has 2.
I will say this: if we do a top 10 Mario video, I'm not going to say it won't be on the list, but I wouldn't doubt you see Mario Sunshine on that list. Mario Sunshine was actually an interesting game.
It was.
Interesting,
For its time,
underrated, cult following.
It's one of the most underrated Mario games.
Let's just say that one also has a thing for when Bowser Jr. and Peach and whatnot about the Mario and whatnot. Oh god, that was probably one of the more cheesier things
We
in
can
that game.
save a discussion about Sunshine.
Well, we can save that for later.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, later talk.
Let's save that for later because it's all about Mario.
I don't think we've got much else to say about Mario. It's Mario.
It's Mario.
It's the original Mario. It's safe video game.
When you mention video games, he's the first name on your mouth, out of your mouth, Mario, because he is the gaming icon. He is video games these days, as people say.
The other thing is the Super Mario All Stars version of this game was actually Let's Played on Much Games, but never the original NES version.
Yeah.
No, instead we did the. Like you
Did
said,
you guys ever own the a cart that was just Super Mario Brothers, or did you own it with Duck Hunt?
With Duck Hunt.
I owned the original, just the Mario, because I had Duck Hunt separately.
I had the original with Duck Hunt. Yeah, I had Duck Hunt. Yeah.
I had both Duck Hunt and Mario separately.
Oh, okay.
I knew that was possible.
Duck Hunt
But
separately.
Yeah, I knew it was possible, but I never had it separately.
Those were the first 2 games I got on the NES, believe it or not.
Cool. That's
Double
definitely one that I would play again. But great game.
Yep.
So let's move on to one of my favorite video games of all time for sure, and probably the game that put him on the map, Mega Man 2. This was the game that really solidified Mega Man as a gaming icon.
Yep. I mean, the first one, and we did part of the Mega Man Rush, which is still ongoing, but I won't get into that right now. I did the original Mega Man, and yeah, it was frustrating. Bragg actually did Mega Man 2.
Yep, I did Mega Man 2. And Mega Man 2 is probably one of my favorite ones.
Mine as well.
I like the Wily stages in Mega Man 2. Specifically the music in the Wily stages.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
it's so iconic.
Yep.
the music in Mega Man games in general is just iconic.
Yeah.
Exactly, but
I played Mega Man 2 on my channel last year. I think it was last year. But yeah, I really enjoyed Mega Man 2 playing it again.
Yes, well, I did.
It's just great playing it.
Yes, I did Mega Man 4 on Much Games, and you also did 5 and 6.
Yeah, I did.
and right now it's kind of on a stand, so we'll eventually get the Mega Man 7 and 8, 9, 10,
I'll get to
11,
7 soon.
and there's Mega Man and Base as well.
But what's more to say about Mega Man? What's already not been said?
Well, I like the fact that like
The year 20XX.
This one here, like this Mega Man here, I think had some of the better bosses too.
Yep.
Mega Man 2, yes.
Definitely a step up from number 1.
I think a lot of iconic bosses or boss designs do come from Mega Man 2's bosses, and I think it handled weapons really great too. There hasn't been a weapon yet that I think has replaced how effective the Metal Blade was.
Well, yeah, you had Metal Man, you had the Metal Blades, pretty much one of the most effective weapons in that.
One of the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
weapons
yeah.
in that game.
Like a lot of people.
One of the best weapons in Mega Man history.
Yep, for sure.
I think another useful weapon in that game was probably the crash bomb, or like the crash bombs, were pretty useful.
Yes, they were also a pretty useful weapon. I think.
Leaf Shield was another one. It's like there's a lot of good characters. Like you had Metal Man, you had Flash Man, Quick Man, Wood Man, and Air Man. Bubble Man and Heat Man.
Hey Zio, you might know this one. You might know this one a bit more than I. I know Leaf Shield's in Smash. Isn't Metal Man's weapon in Smash too?
Yes, Metal Blade.
Yes, okay.
Metal Blade is, yep. Metal Blade is in
Smash. I was just trying to recall if it was or not.
Yeah,
it is. It was in the previous one too. It was in Smash for the Wii U as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to recall if it was or not.
Yeah, Metal Blades. Well, Metal Blades is probably one of the most popular weapons, even though Mega Man 11 only came out like a while ago. If you play, when people talk about one of the best power-ups in a Mega Man game, Metal Blades is probably going to be one of the first ones they're going to say.
Mega Man 2 has 3 weapons, I believe, that Mega Man uses. He has Air Shooter... Oh, no, 4, excuse me. He has Air Shooter, Crash Bomb, Metal Blade, and Leaf Shield.
And the Leaf Shield.
Yeah.
Yep. Those are the ones. So, seems like when Nintendo made Smash, they were like, we're going to go with Mega Man 2 style.
Yeah, there's a lot of drawn inspiration. I mean, you can even hear it in Mega Man's Victory theme, which is a short remix of the Wily Castle.
Most of the soundtracks in Smash is Mega Man 2 related, so that alone tells you that Mega Man 2 was just a big influence in gaming in general.
Yep.
Yep. But, great game. Great series. Mega Man 11, I gotta say, I really liked Mega Man 11. That was the most recent one.
It's funny.
Yeah, that was a very solid entry.
We're reading a list from a little list of for all the top 10, and on that list he has Mega Man 2 written down as 1-1. So it also looks like it says Mega Man 11.
It does.
Yeah. But it's 2 for Roman numerals, so... But Mega Man 2, great game. I liked it.
I think Mega Man.
Yeah, a lot of Mega Man games, so great. And it's been remade a couple of times. Like, there was, the Legacy Collection?
Yeah.
That was another one. There was Game Boy ports or something. There was Game Boy versions of some of the early Mega Man games, too. So, it might have been a bit different, but there was.
Oh, Game Boy Mega Man 2 is also a very good game.
It
very
is.
solid.
Yeah, very good game. So even if you're playing on Game Boy, it's still good.
If it's one thing Mega Man needs to learn how to do, it's keep Dr. Wily away from creating robots. How many times does he show good mercy? Come on, Mega Man, step up your game and lock Dr. Wily
I gotta say with Mega Man 11, not to get off topic too much, but with Mega Man 11, that double gear system is really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they introduced that, I was like, that's actually really cool that they put that feature in. Cole, you gotta play that one.
It's on Steam. It's on my wish list.
Okay, cool. I just got I got it on the Switch, so.
Yeah, me too.
Play it mobile. But I say we should move on to the next game.
Okay, so this is game number 2. And of course, like a couple of games already on this list, it's actually start of one of the best series Nintendo's ever put out. And one of my personal favorite series, The Legend of Zelda.
So at number 10, we had Zelda 2. And Zelda 2 is a great game, but Zelda 2, while a great game, still isn't as great as the original Legend.
Yeah, I mean, with the
original is awesome.
The original basically defined what an adventure game should be, really, in terms of the Zelda stuff. You're out there, you're exploring. It's a secret to everybody. And fun fact, you don't actually have to get that sword right away in the game, but most people, myself included, actually do.
Yeah, it's possible to get to Ganon swordless. You can't beat him swordless, but you can get to Ganon swordless.
Yes, but it's dangerous to go alone, okay? You need that sword. It's dangerous to go alone. Take the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But an interesting fact about this game, if people don't know, of course, besides it being a bestseller for Nintendo, is it actually sold over 6.5 million copies.
Oof, that's a very big. That
That's
was a very
a
big
lot
number.
of copies. That's a lot of copies for a game back then.
Definitely.
Yeah, 6.5 million copies of that game have been sold. So that is...
selling Legend of Zelda game.
Yep.
If it's one thing that I enjoyed about the Zelda games is like, you didn't have to go to with every dungeon. You used to collect keys, obviously, and then with keys left over, you can keep them. So if you go to another dungeon, you could use the keys there as well. So I liked that idea when they did that.
Yeah, but they
They
cut
did
that out
that.
after
Sadly,
a
they-
certain game. Right? I'm pretty sure after
Yeah, sadly they got...
after the first one or the second one, they got rid of it.
The second one, I think they got rid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And this was that, well, obviously, this game here was a launch title when it came out for the Famicom in Japan. So, which is the NES in North America. So,
But there's a lot of Legend of Zelda games in the Hall of Fame as well, this one included.
No surprise there.
That's not a shock. It's one of the best games out there. But it has replay value. It has replay value too, because even when you finish the game, there's a second quest mode.
Yeah, that changes the game quite a lot more than you expect.
Yep. Which so you figure, oh, this game is an NES game. As soon as you finish it, it's done. Nope. There's a second quest, and it is different. But yeah, that's Legend of Zelda. That's just we could talk for hours about this series, just like some of the other ones that we already mentioned.
But like the other, before we go on to honorable mentions, I would state I think we all make a final point on this one if we wanted to, but I may have to sneeze. Oh God. Oh, but this game was ported out on many stuff, like GBA, for example. Pretty sure it's in the Wii U shop and Switch shop.
It is. It is in Switch.
And the NES Classic.
Yep.
Yeah, NES Classic, which I have one of those. They were hard to get, but managed to get one. It is on that. It's on a Switch online, like Nintendo Online.
I'm pretty sure it's also on the Wii. It's
It is on the Wii and the Wii U.
On the
The
Wii?
Wii and the Wii U's. It was actually, I think it was also on the GameCube.
I think so.
Yeah, it was
there was a
part of the
port on the
Anniversary
GameCube.
Collection.
Yeah, I
The
think
Anniversary
so.
Collection, which I have and Cole also has.
Yeah.
So the first two games are on that, along with Ocarina of Time and I think it's Majora's Mask. Yeah, Majora's
Yeah.
Mask.
Well, this game has definitely had its fair share of ports, we try to say.
And it was all this was actually on the GBA. This was also on the GBA.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
But yeah, well, Nintendo Classic system, but it's also Nintendo Classic GBA series on the GBA. So yeah, great game. You know, of course you can get it on PC if you want to find emulators and stuff like that. But if we're going with consoles, it's been ported a bunch of times on consoles.
Okay, so why don't we move on to our honorable mentions? And,
Or honorable mentions.
Good idea.
yeah. So we don't necessarily. These are some of the games that were on people's lists, but didn't quite make the cut. So, Samurai, do you want to announce them, or do you want me to do it?
I'll do it. So, Contra was one of them, which was released by Konami. A very solid game. It was hard to. This list was hard to make as it was. So Contra just slightly missed out along with other games. If we made a top 20, then this definitely would have been on it for sure.
Number 11.
And then there's another one is Super Mario Brothers 2, Doki Doki Panic, I like to call it, because it was mainly inspired by Doki Doki Panic. It was the unofficial sequel because Lost Levels was the sequel, but because it was too difficult for everyone, they gave us Mario Brothers 2. So I say it was still a solid entry despite the hate it gets. This is a game that I really hate. I'm not going to lie, I really despise it. Segue goes to Battletoads. Oh god, this
I
was kind of.
love this game.
I love it. I love it and I hate it at the same time.
Samwise actually
Well, yeah.
streamed this game. He said he was never going to use a save state, and he ended up using a save state.
I
Oh,
did.
famous last
Unfortunately.
words.
I gotta say, I gotta
I-
say this one. Blood Spitting Lizard, BSL. He's let's play this game. He hates using save states for the passion, and he had to use save states in that game. That's how hard that game is.
I
There's
literally
only
don't
one
like
level
it.
you
Yes.
have to use it for, though.
Yep.
It's the only level that I also don't like. I mean, I like the game. I could beat it without save states, except for one level that's just really dumb. Fucking
Yeah.
Clinger Winger.
Oh my god, I really hate that.
Clinger Winger.
Everybody hates that one.
Yeah.
It's a dumb level.
Yeah, everybody hates that level.
I was contemplating using save states for the speed bike level, but I actually got through it without doing it. So I was like, wow, okay.
Turbo Tunnel's not that bad. It's just intimidating.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot to get used to. Once you realize the pattern is pretty easy.
All right, let's go
Yeah.
on with some more games here.
The next one is Excite Bike. Again, it was another solid entry for its time. It was really good. I got a few moments enjoying this game, even though I kept failing, but I had fun failing most of the time because it was just so goofy. Most of the stuff that happens is a bit silly. Like with the bikes, once you don't do the stunt right, you end up tripping over. It's pretty fun. It was a pretty fun game to play, to try and beat yourself, really, and, well, laugh at your failures. I wouldn't say it's frustrating. I know people say it's a frustrating game, but I disagree. I find it more fun to fail with Excite Bike. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would agree with that as
Yep.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next next game is Duck Hunt.
Speaking of
I
failing,
had Speaking
Duck
of,
Hunt.
oh, that stupid dog.
Hey,
I was
look,
just
hey,
saying the
look.
same.
Look at it this way. He's in Smash now, you can beat him up.
Which is the best thing about it.
Yep.
Well, there was an infamous glitch with Duck Hunt. If you get to a specific level, the game would glitch and then you would just fail. No, I could never get to that level, but I know there was a famous glitch because as you got older, people would upload it, and it was pretty funny actually. Duck killing the ducks, and the other one was I think shooting clays. From memory, shooting clays that also had a glitch. But what game didn't have a glitch back in the day of NES? But Duck Hunt was pretty solid because I think is it called the Zapper? The gun, the Zapper,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, the NES.
Yeah, it's called Zapple, yep.
Yeah, the Zapper was a pretty good thing to use instead of just using the regular controller because at least you can aim at the screen. It worked most of the time anyway for me.
screw aiming at the screen. I'll just put the zapper on the screen.
That's what most people did.
Yep.
That's what a lot of people did.
It was a very solid game for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is, well, I said it, I gave away a spoiler, my bad, but Castlevania 2 Quest. We've already gone through this game with its challenges it brings. It is a direct sequel to Castlevania 1, and with this one, it was very it had its RPG elements with you kill more enemies and then you level up, you get health. You do get money in this game. The hearts normally is with the previous game. The hearts were related to your items. So if you threw it, the heart will go down. In this game, hearts is actually money. So yeah, you had to buy things when you had to play this game. Upgrade your weapons and whatnot. So it was pretty solid. Of course, it had its moments when it was cryptic and you did not have no idea what to do. But it was still a challenging but a fun game nonetheless for me. I did like Simon's Quest when I Let's Played it. I'm pretty sure everyone else did when they LP'd it, even though a lot of people do have their problems with this game.
Yeah, it is a great game.
Yep.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's definitely solid. It was definitely a great trilogy for the NES set for what it was. Back I would still play it yearly sometimes. So the next game is Donkey Kong, where we debuted our famous red suited plumber. Well, he was a plumber at the point, but he's not a plumber anymore, but Jumpman. So,
Jump in.
So with this game, in distress that's called by an ape called Donkey Kong. Well, Pauline is the damsel in distress. Who's now the mayor of New Donk City in Super Mario Odyssey, if I remember correctly. I haven't played that game completely, but yeah, I think Pauline is the mayor in that game.
She is.
So yeah, she's come a very long way, and this game was really solid for what it was. It had its challenges. It did have its challenges. I'm not gonna lie. I was not good at this game when I was younger. But this game has had its fair share. This game has had its fair share of sequels and ports. There was a Game Boy port to this game with a little slight adventure to it. Then they released one on the GBA and Nintendo DS. So it's still going on these days, actually. And I do recommend that you start with the original, going back to where it all started for Mario as well, actually. The next entry is Mega Man 5. This is actually one of my more favorite games. Now that I've played it properly, because I did play this game on the Much Games Guide, it was actually my first time playing it, so I did get a bit of advice from like what patterns to choose with the boss fights and weaknesses, so I did get a bit of help from it. But for the challenge, it was very good. I wouldn't say it was as challenging as 1 or probably 3, in my opinion, was a bit challenging for me anyway, but 1 was super challenging. But 5, it's a bit easier than any other game, any other Mega Man game that I've played. But the power-ups is fun, the music's fun, and the story, well, it's the same as the others. Dr. Wily's up to his no-good self again.
It doesn't start out that way, actually.
Actually, no, it doesn't.
It starts out with Dr. Light being kidnapped by what seemed to be Proto Man.
Oh yeah, that's right. So it was a fake Proto Man, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, but yeah. Story is this I think was 5 the first where we meet Proto Man. It was, wasn't it?
No, the first time you meet Proto Man is 3, and 5 is the one where Dr. Wily tries to frame Proto Man.
Good thing for Zeo Lightning, see? Good thing for Zeo.
Yeah, Mega Man 5 is my favorite.
Well, Mega Man 5 is a solid entry. If there was no Mega Man 2, I'd probably say 5 would be my favorite. Definitely.
Well, Mega Man 5 went in the Hall of Fame last year with in the video with Moogle. Well, Moogle didn't have as much nice things to say on it, but to each their own.
Right.
Everyone has their difference in opinions when it comes to Mega Man games, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, we respect everyone's opinions. If you have your own, I will respect it, obviously. But it is an honorable mention. Okay, so we got 2 of these games into the list of honorable mentions, but we're going to start with the first one, Ninja Gaiden. One of the more challenging games in the bloody, I should say, if not the challenging game in the series.
Ninja Gaiden.
Oh, Ninja Gaiden 1. How you haunted me for 28 years in my childhood. Oh, dear.
And you're not the only one that's haunted.
It's not haunted just me. It's haunted everyone. Zeo Lightning and everybody else. Oh, dear. It was a challenge. It's a fun game, but when you get to the nitty-gritty, which is the stage 6, you're not going to enjoy yourself. You're going to be completely frustrated. I do remember streaming this game, and I kid you not, it took me nearly 8 hours to beat it. Nearly 8 hours. It was so frustrating. It's just stage 6. Stage 6, you just completely lose your mind, because once you've... I'll give you a spoiler, because you're going to have to get used to it. If you like a challenge, and I know some of you would go to, but stage 6, it's a very big challenge. So if you want to go and do it, then do it. But I tell you, it's not easy. The first 5 stages is a cakewalk, but stage 6, nope. You're going to be there for quite some time. But Ninja Gaiden, for what it is, it's a classic, and it definitely started off a very solid franchise, just like any other franchise. But yeah, I definitely do recommend you play Ninja Gaiden 1. And the same with this game as well, because it was a very good sequel. Ninja Gaiden 2. Again, with the, if I remember correctly, with this plot, Ryu Hayabusa did beat Jacko, which is, I think it's Jacko, but from the first game. But the new evil returns, and obviously Irene from the previous game was kidnapped, so you have to save her. And, well, you do have a side character, Robert, to help you out, but it's still the same purposes and the same challenges in Ninja Gaiden. They did add new power-ups and whatnot, but the challenge is a little bit easier compared to the first game. So Yeah, maybe you should start with number two if you want to. Well, in terms of story, if you want to play story, start with number one. But if you want to get used to the game, start with number two. I prefer if you sort of start number two before you play number one, so that you know what you get yourselves into when you play number one. But Ninja Gaiden, I recommend you. And finally, our last honorable mention goes to Kirby's Adventure. What is there to say? What else is there to say about Kirby? He's just an adorable. He's just a Star Warrior.
That little pink puffball.
Honestly, Kirby's Adventure is probably the game that invented Kirby. Like, even though Kirby's Dream Land was his debut game, everything you know about Kirby comes from an adventure.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's what it's, to say the least, we all know we're going to agree that Sakurai's treasure. Even when he does the Smash games, Kirby is very much priority in that game as well.
World of
Like
Light is
Kirby-
pretty much proof of that.
Pretty much.
Alright, so Kirby's Adventure, even that could have went into the top 10, but it was, like we said, it wasn't an easy decision. We all finalized this list together. So why don't we get into number one? Or should we recap?
Yes. They can see the list, so I'll do a quick recap. So number 10 was Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Number 9, of course, was DuckTales. Number 8 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade version, of course, the arcade game. Castlevania 3, Draculas Curse was number 7. Number 6 was Final Fantasy. 5 was, of course, Metroid. Super Mario Bros. Came in at number 4, and rounding out the top 3 here, Mega Man 2, Legend of Zelda, and of course, in the number 1 spot, we have Super Mario Bros. 3.
Is there really an argument there with Super Mario Bros. 3 being number one?
There's no argument.
I
Honestly,
don't think so.
Probably the best platformer on the.
Yep. I mean, they really tackled the overworld system for choose the levels. The co-op actually worked out pretty well. Not to mention the items that you had. You had the boot, you have the Tanuki suit, which you could turn to a statue. Don't use that over pits.
You had the frog.
The frog. You can always get eaten by the fish.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no!
Yeah, you have everyone's favorite, the Hammer Bros suit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
I
Hammer
love
suit.
that suit.
Fireflower, of course, was another one. The P-Wing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
the
can be like
P-Wing.
Colette and use the P-Wing and still get eaten by the fish.
Yep. She did that.
Oh, she's probably going to crucify me for laughing at her.
No, she laughed at it too, don't worry.
But it is pretty funny.
How the hell do you get a P-Wing with unlimited flying ability and still get eaten by a fish?
You get cocky, that's how.
That's
Exactly.
what makes it so funny.
And that's what she did.
Oh,
Got cocky with it and figured, I'm not going to die. Gulp.
Never change, Colette. We love you, but never change.
You know something? We're actually planning a top 10 Colette and L180 moments.
Oh, she's
I
got
think
to
we can do. I think top 10 is going to be like this. Is going to be an easy one there. Well, actually, it won't be an easy one because there's going to be so many moments.
Well, you got to put some of it from her channel too. So, but
There's gonna be so many.
getting back to Super Mario Bros. 3, I did like the fact that there's a lot of things I liked about this game too. So, I mean, like, not to mention the items, the boss battle with Zelda, the fact that the debut of the Koopalings was in it.
Yeah. The Doom ship levels were pretty good as well.
Yep.
There was a lot of secrets in it. But there's a fun fact about this game. This game was really like a pantomime, the more you think about it. Like a stage theater because of all the curtains and whatnot. So when you touch the when you go down on the white block, which makes you go through the scenery, you can run through the back and it makes it look like you're going to the next stage and whatnot. So it kind of had a little bit of theater work to it. So I think that's kind of a fun fact there as well. It really looked like a staging show, the more you think about it. Which was pretty clever. For me anyway, it was pretty clever.
It was.
Yeah, it was pretty clever.
But to this day, everyone's picking which one's their best Mario game. It's either between this one or Super Mario World. But obviously, that would be for another topic when we
Yes, Mario World.
when we eventually do the top 10 Mario games, because there's so many to choose from.
Yep, for
We could do
sure.
we could even do a top 20 because he's done so many damn games.
Okay. Best Mario game ever. Mario's missing.
No.
No. No.
I will repeat that.
Mario's missing.
Do you know how much information you have to intake into a
What's
game?
Yeah, Mario is missing.
What's next? Hotel Mario?
Hotel Mario.
Hey, there is a Hotel Goomba in Mario Party 5.
Oh, God.
There is.
Yeah,
If you want to speak about, if you want to go to haunt hotels, we just go to Luigi's Mansion. This is not a hotel, but it's a mansion, which actually is an awesome game, by the way.
Well, it looks like Luigi's Mansion 3 is going to be taking place in a hotel.
Yeah, it
God.
does. It does look like that.
It does.
But yeah, Mario 3, great game.
It's
By the-
number one.
Definitely the best one on the NES, and probably one of the best ones ever.
Yep, for sure. So that will conclude our official NES Top 10 from our Much Games crew. Now this, again, as I iterated about an hour ago, this is our own opinion. And if you guys want to put your top 10 down of top 10 NES games, go ahead and do so. You can also join our Discord server. That link is down below in the description. And on top of that, if you guys want to add something else to what I'm going to say,
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up there.
any top 10 ideas that you guys want to suggest, go ahead and suggest them.
We're all welcome to suggestions. So, yeah, your suggestions are welcome. Your opinions are just as important to helping this channel grow.
Exactly.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, this is pretty much it. We're the crew. We're signing off.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.